Hey, what's up guys? We're back again with the top 5 best decks in Clash Royale. At the end of the season, when the highest ranked pro players were trying their hardest to finalize their ranks, these were the decks that they relied on. Once you play these decks to their full potential, the core card combinations are built to beat any matchup. They rose to the top because when you know how to play them, nothing will stand in your way. Let's learn from the best players in the game and assert dominance. And lots of love to everyone that supported the channel with creator code SirTag. The rank 8 player in the world sent all the pros he played against to the graveyard with this dirty giant deck. So we're starting off strong with a no skill strategy. This guy is always in the top 5 in the world at the end of the season. Legitimately, whenever I look at the top of the leaderboard, this guy is monopolizing it. So he uses Cannoneer just because he wants to be able to overcommit with Giant Graveyard without it being an overcommitment. So you're able to defend a lot more easily. If your opponent drops like wall breakers, you don't have to respond. If they drop an Electro Giant or something like that, you don't necessarily need to have a lot of support cards to counter it. You should be able to shut it down with either a Dark Prince plus your Cannoneer and then not lose your entire tower. Also, this guy's got a Hound deck, so he is learning from the top ladder players. Hound was absolutely everywhere this season, which you'll see later on. Anyway, we're able to annihilate the balloon with our minions, and then I wonder if we 3-crown this guy. Honestly, if we 3-crown, we might have to play another match because this deck is so utterly dominant. This doesn't happen very often. Whenever I do the top 5 best decks in Clash, sometimes the games will be kind of steamrolls, but we don't win within the first minute of playing. This is absurd. It shouldn't be this easy, Clash Royale. What is happening? I guess they don't call it the best decks for nothing. Let's see if we can get another game just as fast. We're playing against someone from Canada, so he's probably a slippery, syrupy sir. I can say that because most of my friends are actually Canadian, and they kind of hate it when I say that. I just scream meese, basically the plural of moose, and syrup at them. And they're like, Jake, stop. It's annoying at this point. But, you know, we are ready to annoy our opponents with Giant Graveyard, so we are following suit. Canadians are generally some of the nicest people on this planet, so I feel a little bit bad that he's playing such against a deplorable deck like ours. Because if you are playing against a Giant Graveyard deck, as you guys witnessed the last one, we can take a tower out instantaneously. And it's not like I have to respond to Wizard. Since I have Cannoneer, I can just let that thing go, and then it's gone. Won't have to worry about that at all. All right, we're going to go for a Giant here, and then we're going to go for a Night Witch immediately just to start keeping up the pressure. You already know, Giant Graveyard, when you're up Elixir, is the way to play. You want to keep going in for that. Also, I could go in for a small spell here. I don't think it's worth it. I believe the Night Witch is going to go and pop the Wizard Shield anyway, so might as well get what we can get and not be too upset. I might be able to go for a Bomber here on defense against the Wizard, and there's a high chance he's going to have a Pekka deck. So, in this environment, I'm going to drop double small spells. He's going to Evo Zap me! Wow, the gall of this guy. Seriously, well played. Credit to where credit is due. You deserve all the damage you got there. However, I think I'm going to take it all back. And a little bit more, brother. So I'm going to go Giant Graveyard, but first, we're going to find an opportunity. We might go in the right-hand side because I think he'll probably expect me to go in the left. So I bet you he'll cycle something there. Yep, he did. Awesome. That Royal Ghost is getting cycled into the Abyss. Well, we might be able to snack on the right-hand side. As you can see, you have the capability of like taking an entire tower, and it's just not very fair, right? If we catch him in the snare and he drops the card in the wrong side, he's just taking a ridiculous amount of damage that's just... It shouldn't happen in Clash, to be honest. Giant Graveyard got buffed so hard whenever the Cannoneer became such a strong tower because Cannoneer gets countered by Graveyard since the Graveyard swarms the tower and there's not much they can do about it. Also, another thing that we can do is we can go for an Evo Bomber and take both towers simultaneously. Despite Pekka being a difficult card for us to beat, if we don't even remotely care about the Pekka, we just go on the other side, then we're fine, right? That's how we're going to play. We're going to use the Cannoneer to be able to shut down the Pekka, and then we should be able to prioritize the defense of the right-hand side where he is down to go in. Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to gallantly spam into us, and that's exactly what happened. I think we can go in for a Bomber here and defend one side, hopefully. Okay. Not necessarily my best work, but it works. We're going to go in for a Dark Prince here, make sure that we just evade that Wizard. Doesn't matter that much at all. And I should be able to plop down a Giant and a Graveyard, and there's no way he's able to defend. So one strategy that people don't do is you go in for the Giant first, in some situations, but most of the time you go for the Graveyard first. If you go Graveyard first, you want to make sure that the Giant comes down fast enough to tank for the Graveyard. And as you guys saw, we swooped up the tower with our absurd sea of skeletons and we seized the win. Pummeling a Pekka player that's meant to counter Giant after 3-crowning an opponent in 1 minute showcases the superiority of this strategy. Giant Graveyard has been in the top 5 decks in Clash Royale for years now, and it's one of the best decks to upgrade. The ranked 6th player in the world put on a masterclass of outplaying his opponents with this Magic Archer deck. There's a stark contrast between the two decks that we are about to play, Giant Graveyard and then shifting to the highest skilled deck in the game with Magic Archer and a lot of fast cycle cards with intricate placements revolving around being the better player in Clash. So I like this deck because it makes me forcing like the best brain cell plays I can do. Like, it's making me think about my strategies. When I can go for a Magic Archer, when I can outplay my opponent, how can I force his knight to get pulled backwards so it stays in alignment with our Magic Archer for a longer period of time? Oh, okay, he's going to go in for a pekka. We can force it even further back with the tornado for even more damage. The beautiful thing about this is if we kill his Electro Wizard, then he's not going to be able to break through. Even if he's going to go for a zap, the strategy for us is just go for a knight, and then we can go skellies afterward. There's so many layers to this defensive sequence that we can display, and obviously our opponent is going to pay. So I am going to just go for skellies here, and I should be A-okay. Not going to take too much damage. Unfortunately, he does get a little bit of damage on our tower, but it be what it be. Also, it's interesting to see this deck being played with Princess Tower. I was looking at it, and Rem Ellie was using Princess Tower in his last game of the season. I think maybe he didn't want to play against Giant Graveyard, so if you play against Graveyard, the Cannoneer just isn't that good. But usually Cannoneer is played at top ladder by the majority of players, unless you're playing the Lava Hound deck. Anyway, we're going to be going in for our Spear Goblins here if we can. Ooh, no. All right, okay. I'm going to go Spear Goblins up high, so then you might go for a zap in a bad position. If you do that, then we can go for Evolved Skeletons and keep everything at bay. As you guys see, Evolved Skellies are a bit unfair. Guy went in for a zap, so he's down a lot of elixir, so I'm going to drop my Goblin Drill at 0. When you go for an Evolved Goblin Drill and you're at 0 elixir, your opponent's at 0 elixir, it's pretty much impossible for them to defend cost effectively. You have to be up elixir with a Bowler or a Wizard to defend this card, and if you're not, you're just going to take an insane amount of damage. I'm going to Magic Archer here just to be an absolute menace to society, and I'm going to go in for a log because it should retarget onto the knight. And I only got one hit. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's fine if we can get Spear Goblins down here and then Skeletons afterward. Reason why I'm doing that is I want to keep the Spear Goblins alive so we can be more of a menace and get more damage on the tower. Also, I could Magic Archer again, but that's not the way that we want to play right now yet. Ooh, actually, screw it. We're going to do it. Who am I kidding? I love playing Magic Archers like an idiot. So we have to do it. We have to exemplify what we do not want to play against in Clash. If you ever match into someone that Magic Archers at the river at every single twist and turn and you get twisted down into a position where you just can't do anything, and then you face the Great Wall of Bomb Tower, like, what are you supposed to do? This is why the deck is dirty when you're actually okay at the game. Because everything that you do mechanically generates positive elixir trades. Whether it's a Bomb Tower Tornado, Evolved Skeletons that we dropped earlier, your opponent's just in this placement where they can't dig themselves out of it. Even with a Miner, he wouldn't be able to get that much damage because guess what, guys? We have Tornado to activate King Tower too. And the Goblin Drill evolution is by far the best way to win in Clash Royale if you're trying to get direct damage. Since you can cycle to the Evolved Goblin Drill crazily quickly with Skeletons, Spear Goblins, and Log, your opponent won't be able to keep up and you'll get guaranteed damage every time. Even when they're defending against a regular drill, they always have to be reminded that there's a Magic Archer, otherwise they're going to get sent to the Shadow Realm. The ranked 3 and 5 player in the world monopolized the leaderboard with this Lava Hound deck. We're flying on to the next one with a Lava Hound deck. And this guy, he's a Frenchie. So, comment ça va? Hopefully you're doing pretty well, my guy. Best play for us is to go for a zap directly on the tower. And then, usually with this deck, you don't want to be going for Lava Hounds in the back unless you have a Tombstone on the field. Because Tombstone enables you an opportunity to play passively and get the position where you need to be before you can safely and securely cycle your Lava Hound. This guy is actually just going to drop a Lava Hound immediately without really recognizing what he's matched into. So, interesting position from him. I don't necessarily like it. We'll take it. We'll take this opportunity for us to go in for a Mega Minion directly on the Skeleton Dragons. Should be able to shut that thing down and start to swipe on top of the Lava Hound. Okay, so usually in this predicament, it is important for us to recognize that, hey, this guy's going to play really aggressive. Let's go Skeleton Dragons and use our Valkyrie to the best of our ability. And it's interesting to get a Lava Hound versus Lava Hound matchup where this guy has Inferno Dragon. Usually Inferno Dragon, if you have Zap, is going to be pretty good for you. Also, Void is able to shut it down, so not that big of a deal. The one thing that I have to wonder is this guy just going to perpetually go and cycle more Lava Hounds at us? Because if that's going to be the case, I don't want to go on the same side as him when he has Inferno Dragon. Usually you want to go opposite lane here. Get him to cycle the Skeleton Dragons into the Abyss while we set up the Lava Hound of Doom. So he's going to cycle another Lava Hound here. Again, I don't necessarily vibe with this strategy from our opponent at all. If we're able to go for Mega Minion on top of the Skeleton Dragons, they should die without any worries whatsoever. He's going to Void on it, so that's just a lot of extra Elixir, interestingly enough. As you can see, Mega Minion, the cost efficiency that you get with a 3 Elixir card is beyond crazy. Also, when we have Void, it's going to give us the exact same interaction against this. I do think we want to go for a Zap just to delay that a little bit so our Lava Hound stays alive longer. And then we can get a Valkyrie down on top of the Lava Pups so we have enough time for our Princess Tower to pop off. He's going to Valkyrie on offense too. The gall of this guy to go balls to the walls offense and barely get the arrows down to shut down that Lava Pup parade was pretty well played on his end, but also at the same time, I just did not expect him to do that. So we'll take what we can get, and I guess our best bet is to go in for a Lava Hound in the back and run it back. Usually, the opponent will just keep rinsing and repeating the exact same strategy. So I believe that he's going to go for Skeleton Dragons behind this Lava Hound, and that's exactly what he does. We'll go in for a Balloon in the left-hand side. We'll try to get a Valkyrie tanking for our Mega Minion. I think that that will be our best play. Because if the Evo Valkyrie is able to shut down his stuff and pull it a bit closer to our tower, then I don't think that he's going to have a good interaction here, because we can Evo Zap on the other side. Meanwhile, the Mega Minion is melting everything he owns. So, as you can see, I'm not going to overcommit here. I'm just going to use my Skeleton Dragon simply on defense. Meanwhile, I can go for a Void to clean up the rest of his stuff and get some nice tower damage in the process. So, if I'm able to do that, I might just Lava Hound at the river and take our very easy victory. As you can see, there's a lot of maneuverability that you have when you have Tombstone just because it's a cost-effective card. When you drop Tombstone and you drop your Mega Minion on defense, you know that you're going to get good trades if your opponent's being overzealous and spamming into you. This is a bit more of a defensive deck than the other decks that you're going to be seeing today, but it still is one of the best ones to play. GG, well played, and peace out, buddy. It's time for us to soar on to the next one after snagging your tower. The ranked 2 and 4 player in the world popped off using this Lava Hound deck. So this deck basically steals from our last opponent, but it makes the deck significantly better with one swap. The slight swap of switching an arrows for Evolve Zap is massive. The Evolve Zap enables you a reset for Inferno Dragons, Inferno Towers, and those ramp up cards that relentlessly wreck all of your counters to your opponent. For instance, if you go in for a Balloon and then it just is like popped by the Inferno Dragon, it's a pretty bad feeling. If your opponent goes in for a Mighty Miner on top of your Valkyrie, not really remarkably awesome for you when your Valkyrie gets melted and then you have to deal with the Mighty Miner getting pushed by wall breakers or something. So you always want to make sure that you have more adaptability, and the resets of the Zap enable that, especially after the Zap is just a major better option than running arrows, which just got a nerf. This is before the arrows nerf, by the way. People were still playing Evolve Zap over the overpowered arrows. We're going to go guards, and we're going to drop an Inferno Dragon here. We're going to try to drop it last possible second so it's less likely for our opponent to respond. He'll probably just let that go. He's going to lose his Expo 100%. I wonder if it's worth it for us to do anything here. I think we just let that ride. Unless he goes in for a Knight or something spooky and scary, our Princess Tower will take a little bit of damage, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, it is starting to become the end of the world here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and eat the damage on the left-hand side, go in for Skeleton Dragons on this, and try to melt both of his Knight and also his Evolved Archer. This is a pretty aggressive play, but I think it is the best play for us to do today. I'm also going to go in for a Void off to the side so we can start to snipe that Tesla. And then with the Skeleton Dragon putting it in work against the Archers, we won't have to worry about it too much. Well played by our opponent. I think he definitely played better than us there, but maybe our overpowered deck can carry us through with a W. You never know. Whenever you're a bad Lava Hound player and you've got Void, you just set up a Lava Hound in the back, you're going for a Void on a high value target, and you can generally win a lot of matches. I'm not going to lie. Maybe it won't happen here, but I believe it. So I'm going to go guards. I'm going to Inferno Dragon again. We have a high health tower on the left-hand side, so it's not that spooky or scary for me. Even if he goes in for Skellies, I should be able to go in for an Inferno Dragon Zap here and be completely content with our position. Maybe I should do something about that, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to set up a Lava Hound. I think that this is fine. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my tower's burning, and I'm saying this is fine, and it's not. Anyway, we are able to go in for a Valkyrie on the other side and definitely want to go in for a Void here. And then I wonder if he's going to go and pull that or something. There's a chance he could, but it just wouldn't make that much sense. He does find himself in a weird position where he goes in for a Tesla that is not able to pull our Balloon, by the way. I mean, it works, but is it the smartest? Is it the highest IQ play you've ever seen, or is it definitely not the best?
Who did this? Did what? What are you talking about? It was me, Frank. What?
Anyway, we're going to go in for our guards because he just cycled a lot of stuff that I don't think he should have. Then we're going to go in for our Inferno Dragon, and also with Cannoneer. When you're playing against someone with guards, it's very difficult to defend. Especially when I'm able to go and drop other cards with it, and then go in for a zap on top of your archers with the Inferno Dragon right next to it. You have to defend with the Cannoneer. You can't eat that much damage, and that balloon is bound to give us some death damage bare minimum. So we know he's going to go in for a Expo real soon, so let's just go in for our Valkyrie on the other side, see if he gets fancy with us, and if he doesn't, that's totally fine. I'm going to go for guards, Inferno Dragon, and then I'm going to try to use a Void in the back end just so we can guarantee that we can melt this Expo without losing the game. Definitely a scary position for us, but it's not going to kill me. And, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just vibing, if I'm a crazy wild child, or if I'm right. We'll see. All right. Maybe I lose. Maybe I win. I don't know. Do we get the hit before the zap or the log comes through? Oh my gosh, let's go. I played that horrendously. I don't play Lava Hound decks, but wow. Deck is pretty much noob proof and a lot of fun. Lava Hound Balloon certainly took me on an adventure through the air, and I'm not gonna say it's fair because this is one of my worst decks in Clash. I don't know if you guys remember, but I made a video on how I hadn't played Lava Hound for 2 years, and I still won with this stack. Even if you're stupid, you can still be successful with Lava Hound Void. The #1 player in the world sliced through every other pro using this pekka deck. After that masterclass of incompetence, now we're on to the best deck in Clash Royale that I've played quite a bit. This pekka deck is super fun to play, and Evolved Wizard, it is overpowered. This card is annihilating every bait deck in the meta, and when you have Electro Spirit, it's even better because then you can consistently go and counter all of your opponent's bait cards, whether it's Graveyard, or you're able to use Cannoneer in the deck if you want to. It enables a lot more opportunities for you to switch up and be more versatile with your deck. Also, I like the fact that you have the ability to go and cycle your wizard, and it's just like one cycle. And it's like, oh, I immediately get a card with a defensive utility because it has a shield that also does splash damage and knocks things back. And by the way, Wizard got a buff in the balance changes where they reworked it. Now it doesn't die to poison, which is insane. Wizard always died to poison, but the fact that it doesn't now means that this deck is actually buffed. The rank 1 deck in the world from the last season that they were supposed to nerf, they buffed it. I don't know how or why, but all the top ladder players like Ian are complaining about Wizard saying, hey, this thing should not survive a poison, Clash Royale. What are you thinking? Anyway, we're going to go in for a Void on top of this Magic Archer, hopefully. Ooh, is this? I think it's worth it. Just shut that thing down. Since we have Princess Tower, we don't even have to worry about the Evolved Skeletons. Usually, we would have to go in for a zap on that, but we're chilling. We're vibing. We're having a good time. So, in this position, I could cycle a Pekka in the back and just roll with that because we can counter a Goblin Drill with a Royal Ghost, an Electro Spirit on top of the Demolisher, and then be totally fine with this because even if he does damage, we are getting dual lane pressure. By the way, if you have dual lane pressure and you have a Ram Rider, it's kind of fun to go and drop that behind the Pekka and watch as your opponent squirms, tries to find some way of defending everything. Because we know if he drops skeletons, we're just going to zap them. If he drops a range card, it gets voided. So yeah, the Magic Archer's gone. The skeletons are gone. What are you going to do, man? Just going to cry? Are you just going to leave? I don't know.
Look at little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry?
Not looking good, bro. Not looking good. And then you tornado a bandit directly in, so very easy win. You know, the first game of the day and the last game of the day were too easy. So we're going to go and run it back with another one. We've already pulverized our opponent with Pekka. When you're able to dominate an evolved Goblin Drill deck decisively, you know your deck's a bit dirty and definitely overpowered. Because that was a bit too easy, we are forced to find another victim. So, you already know, since the guy is Cannoneer, it is not a good decision for us to go for an Electro Spirit. It just dies. Usually, into Cannoneer, I try to play a bit differently and overwhelm my opponent in one side instead of dual lane pressure, just because the Cannoneer is so good at shutting down bandits for a 1 elixir trade. You can just go for Ice Spirit and watch the bandit get pulverized. Same thing with the Dagger Duchess. Even after the nerf to Dagger Duchess, it is still one of the best cards to counter cards cost effectively. Anything 3 elixir or less is just deleted. However, we can go for a Void on the Wizard and let him know who's boss. Goodbye, Wizard. It was nice knowing you. He's doing the same strategy as us, but he lost his entire Fisher Boy. I don't know how that's going to work for him right now because the bandit should dash onto the tower, and I'm not going to go and allocate extra elixir that I shouldn't be. I'll go for a Royal Ghost on top of the Skeleton King. He must be pretty miffed by the fact that we are going to be playing a deck that has Princess Tower because the Skeleton King can't swarm us with skellies, my guy. It's just going to die. So no undead for you, sir. I wonder if we're able to go for like a Royal Ghost plus Zap here just to cycle the evolution. I think that's the best bet for us. Also, just get that lightning in his face. Maybe give him a bit of a distraction. Oh, there ain't no way! Homie, you're not having a good day. That is not the way that you want to play. Cycling a golem in the back directly into our Pekka. So, if you guys are unaware, you want to drop your wizard here. In this positioning, he can't void it. So, I'll just show you guys real soon what you want to do. You avoid counter with dropping your wizard right next to your tower. So, if your opponent goes in for a void on the wizard, it's going to be absolutely useless because he will be forced to hit the tower with the void. And if they're targeting more than one card with the void's damage dramatically decreases. That's the way that you're able to counter people that are running Golem Void, Elixir Golem Void, all that stuff. Fantastic opposition for you. Also, I'm going to try to go Royal Ghost on the left-hand side because it is a good card to apply pressure with when the opponent doesn't have Elixir. I mean, he can go in for that, and that's totally fine. You might be able to activate King Tower, but your Cannoneers are too overpowered for their own good, my dude. I'm going to go in for a Pekka in the back because I expect him to go in for a Golem. Ooh, that was a bit of a server lag there. That was interesting. That does not happen very often. There wasn't even a red bar, and I was like, wait, what's happening here? Anyway, guy is just going through like a savage. I'm able to go for a wizard to counter that as well. Definitely want to go in for a zap and then also a void. Should be able to counter all the rest of his cards without too many worries. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, for me, we have to go for the Electric Spear on all the bats. And then with the wizard, there's no way you can void that. So what are you going to do? Oh, wait. The Pekka was on the tower. I didn't even realize that. Is he going to pull the Pekka to the other tower and lose the game off of it? I hope so. This would make my day so much better. Let's go. Pikachu, you're the best win condition. I choose you. Oh, no. Our opponent used pull, and it was super effective pulling him out of the match. And our Pikachu was the MVP with that tower snatch. Pekka / the like button if you enjoyed today's video, subscribe for more daily content, and have an amazing rest of your day.